Have you ever started a diet full of hope only to find yourself right back where you started a few months later? You are not alone. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the sun-dried 12-week plan to really dig into the science of what makes weight loss last. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with this number because it's pretty staggering. Over 80% of diets fail within 2 years. 80%! That's a huge number. And you know what it tells us? It tells us the problem probably isn't you. It's the approach.
So that's the big question, right? Why is long-term success so rare? Is it really just a lack of willpower? Well, the core idea behind the sun-dried plan is that the answer is a big no. This isn't about being weak or failing. It's about fundamentally misunderstanding our own biology. And that's exactly where this plan flips the script. We have to move past that old, simplistic math of just calories in versus calories out. It's so much more complicated than that. Instead, we need a biobehavioral framework. Now that sounds fancy, but all it really means is looking at the whole picture, the complex dance between your biology, your psychology, and your environment. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the real reasons diets fail. Then, we'll dive into the 3 phases: understanding your invisible biology, winning that tough middle period, and forging a new identity. And finally, we'll cover the blueprint for making it all last. All right, let's get into phase 1, your invisible biology. The first 4 weeks are all about understanding and mastering these powerful forces, things like hunger and metabolism. They're kind of running the show behind the scenes without you even realizing it. Now check this out, because this is fascinating. It's called the sleep satiety axis. When you only get about 5 hours of sleep, your I'm full hormone, leptin, takes a nosedive. At the same time, your feed me now hormone, ghrelin, skyrockets. Your body is basically getting the same hormonal signals it would during starvation. It's no wonder you crave junk food. Sleep isn't passive rest. It's an active part of managing your appetite. Okay, next up is something called NEAT. This stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and it's basically all the calories you burn just living your life. You know, fidgeting, doing chores, walking to your car. The wild part is, the difference in NEAT between 2 people can be up to 2,000 calories a day. And here's the kicker. When you diet, your body often subconsciously turns your NEAT way down to conserve energy. It's a sneaky reason why you might hit a weight loss plateau. And if you want to see just how much our environment shapes us, get this. Your chance of becoming obese increases by 57% if a close friend becomes obese. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a concept called social contagion, where the norms and behaviors of our social circles literally reshape our own idea of what's normal. So, with that in mind, let's see how we tackle these challenges in the next phase. Let's move into phase 2, which is all about winning the middle. This covers weeks 5 to 8, and let's be honest, this is that messy period where the initial excitement is gone, and motivation can just tank. Psychologists actually have a name for this, the stuck-in-the-middle effect. We've all been there. As you can see on this chart, our motivation is super high at the beginning, and it gets high again near the end when we can see the finish line. But that middle part, the dip, is a real challenge. The start feels like a distant memory, and the end feels impossibly far away. The key thing to remember is this is a normal brain quirk, not a personal failure. So how do we push through that dip? Well, the plan uses some really cool biology to help us out. Take sensory-specific satiety. This is literally the reason you can feel completely full from dinner but somehow still have room for dessert. Your brain is wired to get tired of one taste and seek out new ones. It was a great survival tool for our ancestors, but it's a disaster at an all-you-can-eat buffet. So how do we fight back against our own brain? The sun-dried plan introduces a really simple but powerful countermeasure, the 3-item rule. By just limiting your meals to 3 main components, you reduce that sensory variety. Your brain gets the I'm full signal much faster, so you naturally feel satisfied with fewer calories. It's a simple hack for a complex problem. Another crucial skill for this middle phase is learning to spot the difference between real, physical hunger and emotional hunger. And as you can see here, the signals are totally different. Physical hunger kind of builds up slowly. You feel it in your stomach. Emotional hunger often hits you like a ton of bricks. You feel it in your head, and you usually want one specific thing. Learning to tell these 2 apart is an absolute game changer. And to handle those emotional triggers, the plan uses a brilliantly simple strategy called an if-then plan. You basically pre-program your brain. You identify your trigger, if this happens, and you decide your response in advance, then I will do this. By automating your response, you take willpower completely out of the equation right when you need it most. And that brings us to the home stretch. Phase 3,
Forging a new identity. This is where it all comes together. In weeks 9 through 12, the goal is to go from someone who is doing healthy things to someone who simply is a healthy person. This is how we make it permanent.
I want you to just let this quote sink in for a second. True behavior change is identity change. The ultimate goal isn't to be on a diet forever. That's exhausting. The goal is to change how you see yourself at a fundamental level, because that's the only thing that really sticks.
So why is this identity shift so incredibly powerful? Well, when you see yourself as a healthy person, making the right choice isn't a struggle anymore. It's just what you do. It becomes consistent with your self-image. Saying no to the donut isn't an act of deprivation. It's an act of being true to who you are. It just makes everything easier.
So the 12 weeks are over. Then what? A lot of plans just kind of leave you there, right? Not this one. The sun-dried plan gives you a maintenance blueprint, which is basically a safety net designed for long-term success out in the real world.
One of the smartest parts of this blueprint is the idea of a buffer zone. So instead of being obsessed with one single fragile goal weight, which causes panic at every tiny fluctuation, you create a more flexible and realistic maintenance range, usually about 3 to 5 pounds.
And here's exactly how that works in practice. First, you set your range. Then, you weigh yourself regularly. But, and this is key, you treat the scale as a data tool, not a judgment tool. You set a tripwire at the top of your range. If your weight crosses that line, you don't panic, you don't spiral. You simply deploy your pre-planned short-term action plan to nudge yourself back into the zone. This is how you stop a tiny slip from becoming a huge slide.
So, when you put it all together, the entire sun-dried plan really comes down to this one final question. Are you going to keep fighting a battle against your body? Or are you going to use this knowledge to become the architect of your own biology? And that shift in perspective, well, that might just be the most important change you can make.